So this is the Nothing Phone 3, and today we're going to do a speed test comparison against the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and shout outs to Nothing for sending this phone out. Today we're going to see how it does in performance, and I will be covering this in multiple videos coming soon as well. A quick disclaimer, the iPhone 16 Pro Max is running the iOS 26 Beta 3 for this video, but I've been doing some preliminary testing and it doesn't really change too much of the just the app launches and kind of the Geekbench scores and stuff like that. So what we're really looking at here today is to see how well the Nothing Phone 3 actually performs. It is their new flagship with the new glyph interface, and we do have the essential key over here, Snapdragon 8S Gen 4. So let's go ahead and begin the boot up test here on both of them in 3, 2, go, and see which one can get there first. Now, I've been super impressed with the Nothing Phone devices over the past couple of years, giving you lesser prices than some of these top tier flagship phones with very unique designs. In addition to that, they do have pretty good performance. They're very well optimized, and they're just a little bit fun to use with a more minimal take, I feel like, on Android. And so you'll see that the Nothing Phone did boot up faster, and that was incredibly fast. I think even on the official version of iOS, that's still going to boot up faster because that was ridiculous. That was like pixel fast to turn on. So definitely very quick there. So the Nothing Phone 3 does have the new glyph interface here, which is pretty unique. Some people may not like it, may love it, may think it's a gimmick, but I actually like it. I think it's pretty cool that they're bringing something different. I don't know that it'll stay here for the next edition, but at least they're trying something different here that we don't see on every single phone. And it's kind of like having a second screen with a few party tricks on the back. So definitely very different from any other phone out there. But this is not a fingerprint sensor. So onto the biometrics, you'll see right here, if we go to unlock, it is going to use the fingerprint sensor, or you can use face unlock on here. But that fingerprint sensor I've always enjoyed on the Nothing phones because I do feel like they kind of remind me of the older Touch ID on some older iPhones. I think they look quite nice, and it's in a pretty good location right here. Now on the iPhone, we don't have any Touch ID built into the power button or anything like that, so it's just going to be purely face to unlock or face ID. So you can see with iOS 26, it kind of just flies in like that, but definitely probably not as fast to unlock as the Nothing Phone right here, which kind of just has a faster animation, just a little bit quicker to get into that device right there. Now, if we go ahead and do the face unlock, you're going to see that as I do look at it, it'll show like down here a little swipe to unlock. But if you do go into settings here and you go to face unlock, let's go here. Let me go ahead and put my passcode really quickly, and you'll be able to get in here. You can skip the swipe unlock here for this device, so you can go like that. And there's also a feature for unlock with mask if you are wearing a mask. But once you do that, look at that, you're right in there. So of course, for the speed of unlocking the device, it's going to go to the Nothing Phone. Now, I want to confirm the specifications here, because if we go down to settings here and we go to about phone, they do show you the specifications you get. Now, I have the 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes, and Snapdragon 8S Gen 4. Now, to put that into perspective, the way more costly iPhone 16 Pro Max has 8 gigabytes of RAM. So they need to up the RAM a little bit, at least to 12 on the next iPhone. Now, a lot of us know that iOS is very well optimized and it doesn't always need that much RAM, mostly because it runs one app at a time. But it's still kind of like annoying that they don't have that much RAM. We do have that now for the Nothing Phone 3, which definitely makes this a proper flagship. And while this chip isn't the 8 Elite chip, it's still a current year chip and definitely much faster than something of like the Nothing Phone 3A or something of that sort. So this phone definitely makes me more excited on that front. Now, the camera is going to be pretty subjective. Probably some people may or may not like this. It's definitely out there. So let me know your thoughts on the camera. I'm going to reserve my opinions and judgments for my comparison reviews where I dive deeper into the phone. But you could let me know your thoughts on the overall look. But from the processor and the RAM perspective, confirming the specs were pretty good. Over here, Apple A18 Pro chip, and this does have 8 gigabytes of RAM. This clocked at a pretty high clock speed at 4.04 gigahertz though, so definitely a proper flagship right here as well. Now, when navigating through the Nothing OS 3.5, you're going to find a pretty light experience. You can also change down in here. If we go to Smart Beta, you can change this to be kind of like what you see on App Library over here, these categorized folders right here. If we go to default though, I like to leave it like that. It's just snappy. You swipe through the home screen, everything runs fast. You go over here to this area, the control centers area, quick panels. They're very, very fast. Now over here for iOS 26, of course, we have to keep in mind I'm on beta, but you know, this is also pretty smooth. Just running through the home screens, no major issues. Let's go ahead and launch calendars on both. And you've seen that was faster for iOS. Of course, that's a native application. Google Calendar is available for iOS, but it doesn't run that well. But Google Calendar will be your main app for the Nothing phone. Let's go into clock. And you'll see no issues launching that. Both of them seem to do just fine. So these are just base app row. And you can see that this one actually has like a secondhand sweep on the clock that's more like an automatic watch. This one ticks kind of like a quartz watch. I just noticed that little detail on those clock applications. Let's go into calculator. And you could see both of them very nice. We'll go into the Play Store, App Store. And you can see faster for the iPhone. Of course, this might be network dependent here. But that took a little bit of time. We'll go over here to games on both. And you'll see the new visual glass. Apple did clean up a little bit. They're making it a little bit less bold here. Like it's a little bit more toned down for the submenus on the iOS 26 Beta 3. We'll go over here to ChatGPT. And you can see that was faster for the Nothing Phone 3. We'll go into Gemini. And I think... was that the iPhone? Let me know down below. Let's go into Grok here on both. I'm going to go ahead and skip that. And both of them did fine there. I will say I've been noticing a little bit that the Nothing Phone 3's animations aren't as smooth as I would like. Let's go into when like coming out of the application. I wish it was a little smoother. It feels like fast, like it's going faster than like the smooth feel. So I think Nothing could iron out the animations to look smoother than they are right now. And you've seen that the YouTube launched first there on the iPhone. We'll go over here on Instagram. And that was faster for the Nothing. But then when I launched this, it was faster on the iPhone. And one of the areas where iPhone still shines is the uploading to social media. But the Nothing Phone 3 actually has a pretty good camera setup. We'll talk more about that in the comparisons, but coming out of that app, I did see a little bit of chop. Let's go into X here and we'll see what happens. And both of them did a fine job there. And we'll swipe up out of here. We'll go into eBay on both, faster on the Nothing Phone. And so Nothing is holding its own against this several $100 more iPhone. I mean, remember, the Nothing Phone is $799. So I have to weigh my expectations here and not expect $1,300 smartphone here. But it's actually giving me performance that is definitely up to par. We're downloading some game data here, so this is probably why that's taking a while. I had this issue where some of the applications, I don't know if it's because this phone just came out. This phone is available on July 15th. It is available for pre-order now, but some of the applications were giving me trouble when setting up. Let's go into Subway Surfers. It doesn't feel like a performance problem. It feels like an optimization problem. So I don't know if it's just my model, but Subway Surfers was definitely faster for the iPhone. And we're going to go and swipe over here. And with the 8S Gen 4, I don't expect 8 Elite level performance, but the animations is something I feel like Nothing could fix on a quick software update for sure. So I do think this one is only going to get better and better on the left. And same with the iOS 26 beta. Let's go into RTS, and game modes are available for both phones. You can actually turn the Nothing phone's performance to be where it makes everything else slower in the background just to focus on performance with the game mode over here by triggering that. But the iPhone is faster to turn to race the sun. And so far, I feel like some of the heavier stuff is going to the iPhone. We weren't even able to get into Dead Trigger 2, which I think might be an optimization or app update issue. But when actually getting into the games here, we don't have any major issues. For the iPhone here, you'll see it's loading up, and we're waiting here for the Nothing Phone 3 to come on board. And this is a 6.7, so with the Nothing Phone 3, you do get similar to the iPhone 15 Pro Max size. This is 6.9 on the right, so it's a little bit larger, but both of them do have a weighty feel. But the funny thing is this has a larger battery, and it's still like kind of a little bit lighter feeling, but both are hefty though. So they both do feel like proper flagships. Keep that in mind. So let's go into Free Fire here on both phones and see what happens. Now, I've been getting network errors for the Free Fire application on the Nothing phone. So if this doesn't launch, we'll just have to skip this one. This launched perfectly fine on the iPhone. Let's go ahead and see. Yeah, see it's getting stuck here. I'm gonna get a network error for here, and I've restarted the phone and it still does this. So I think because this phone is just so early, it's an early stage, we'll have to rerun this test later as this phone gets some more updates, because we're not getting a proper look there when certain apps are failing to launch here. Let's go into InShot, and that was fine. We'll go into 3D Mark, and we'll go into Geekbench 6 and Speed Test Net. So majority of the applications seem to be pretty close, although this has been a pretty disappointing test, I feel like, so far on both sides, because we are on beta, of course. I'm not going to take it off beta, go back to stock, because I am trying to learn about the beta as the process goes on. But the Nothing phone needs an update, I feel like. Some of these apps probably need an update too to run properly. It's not just on Nothing. It should be developers updating these apps to run proper on this phone as well. But this phone's animations you're going to see in the RAM management, I do think need a little bit of a boost. That's the same thing with like other stock looking phones like the Pixel as well. So it's not just this brand right here. And the animations might be a bit choppy on the iPhone as well due to beta. Let's see how they look in RAM management. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and go back through the applications, and you can see looking pretty good. Of course, Free Fire didn't launch, so we'll have to just skip on with that one. And overall, of course, I'm going to do the swipe here. Dead Trigger 2 also finally got in there. And you see right there, like it just kind of, it feels like it's trying to go faster than it is smooth, if that makes sense. Like we need to match the smoothness with the speed here, because it's got the speed. Let's not get it twisted. The Nothing Phone 3 has the speed. This is the fastest Nothing phone ever. It just needs a little bit of tweaking to the animations to improve that look, because it can be so fast it looks a little bit choppy sometimes when going through the applications. But speed, performance, no major issues there. Let's see how the iOS 26 Beta 3 is performing. And yeah, we got some choppiness here, as expected on a beta. It is holding all these applications just fine, except for Dead Trigger 2 gave us a little bit of trouble. And this is purely a beta thing. We'll just see this get smoothed out ironed out in an upcoming version of it. But it kept everything open. We just need to see some polish going forward, but no major issues when it comes to relaunching. I'd say overall, Apple is of course going to be a little bit ahead in animation work. I do want to see Nothing take that speed and that minimal feel and kind of give us those OnePlus like animations, those super smooth animations that we see on those devices. And the final scores are in, and the Nothing phone has a really solid multi-core score, 7010. That's pretty good for $799. Also 2150 in single core there. Of course, Geekbench usually always wins on iPhones, and it's no different here today. This is always seeming to go to iPhone, even when we're going against the top galaxies out there. So not surprised by this, but those are definitely flagship scores there on the Nothing phones. And the final wildlife extreme score is in for the Nothing Phone 3, and you could see 4391 with 26.3 average frames per second. This score is better than 86% of devices on the market, and that is actually pretty good. That's probably like a flagship phone of last year for like the higher end phones, so that's up there, especially for $799. Now you'll see that the iPhone did take it by a small margin there. Very small there in Wildlife Extreme. We're talking 0.3 FPS. So scoring better than 86% of devices. And like I said, like a last year flagship, which is the 16 Pro Max. It's a last year's flagship. And so according to 3D Mark, these have the same exact performance, but the Nothing Phone is going to cost you $500 less. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the heat here, if we can see where its hottest point is up at the top there, 107. That's not horrible. That's the highest point. I've seen phones as high as 112 degrees on some of these tests, so that's pretty good heat management. You'll see right here, iPhone getting hotter at around 102, 103 at its peak. So the iPhone actually got hotter at 103 degrees. And yes, the iPhone is on beta. That could be the reason, but if you look at some of my older speed tests, I don't think it is. These iPhones tend to run pretty warm under stress like that. So the last thing I want to do is go ahead and launch the cameras, and let's go ahead and see who's going to go first. And yes, I'm using this as an excuse to go ahead and play with these glyph toys in this video, but we're going to go ahead and do a paper, scissors, rock. Let's go ahead and go back here, and we'll go ahead and start this in like this, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Scissors. So I lost, so that means that the iPhone is going to go first there when it comes to launching the camera. So let's go ahead and see how it does this, and you can see pretty quick there, no issues. We'll go ahead and do that again, and pretty good. Let's go ahead now and see how the Nothing Phone goes ahead and launches the camera. So let's go ahead and launch that. Oh, I swiped. So pretty good. And let me go ahead and do that again. And let's go ahead and test them together now. Let me go ahead and swipe out of there. We'll go ahead and swipe out of here. And we'll hit cameras in 3, 2, and go. And the iPhone remaining faster. Man, the iPhone always seems to launch the camera faster than Android devices. But this is not that much different. And let's go ahead and see how the Nothing Phone handles going through different zooms. Pretty good. Little bit of a... You could see a little bit of a jump when switching between the different focal lengths. iPhone, little jumpy there on the ultra wide. So not major differences. This can actually do 60 times digital, so it actually can go further than the 25 on the iPhone. So let's go ahead and wrap the video up here. The Nothing Phone 3, you can see, I think throughout this video, does need a little bit of software update to enhance its animations. Some of the apps is probably on the developers in the Play Store, why it's not working that well, some of them. But overall, the phone itself is what it claims to be. It's definitely a flagship performance, doing 86% better than the market on 3D Mark, 7,000 in the multi-core on Geekbench, and also giving you a current year chip, which is really good. And it just flies through the software pretty much most of the time. So if you do want a flagship phone with a unique design at under $800, Nothing Phone has got you covered right here. You can pre-order it now for $799. It's going to be available July 15th. Now, the iPhone is a yesteryear flagship. It's last year's flagship. That's why I mean yesteryear, because it was like yesterday. But the iPhone is on beta. It's still running pretty good. Very fast A18 Pro chip, 8 gigabytes of RAM. But I think Apple also needs to update the phone, which we're going to see in a couple of months, to see some really big performance gains. But definitely pretty good stuff here for this new Nothing Phone 3. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section of this video. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And I'll catch you all in the next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.